Hello everyone, my name is Jahangir. Thank you so much for coming. In this tutorial, we are going to learn about Flutter BLoC Pattern. So what is a Flutter BLoC Pattern? How does it works? And why do we need it? So we are going to discuss all of these things in our video. So let's get started. So what is a Flutter BLoC Pattern? Flutter BLoC Pattern basically is a system which is used for managing the states in our app. Google recommends it for using it. It is used and helpful for managing the states and accessing the data from a central place. Means you don't have to use data from multiple places. It can be central. Okay. So now what is meant by BLoC? BLoC basically stands for business logic components. It means that your app's view should be separated from your logics. The BL in the BLoC stands for business logic and the C stands for components. So what why do we need it? Because if your app is a complex if your app is complex and for example you are creating an e-commerce app, so there will be many states you have to manage. For example, there will be cart, there will be products, there will be multiple categories and all that. So when your app gets bigger and bigger, it will become hard for you to manage them. So Flutter BLoC Pattern is very helpful in these kind of circumstances. So how does it works? And before that, why do we need it? For example, if your app is small, like you're creating a calculator, then in that case you don't need to use it because it will be of single screen and there will be a few things which you have to manage. So then if you don't use BLoC, then there is no problem in that. But if your app is bigger, like you're creating an e-commerce app or creating a social app, then you must require any pattern for managing the states. There are multiple patterns for managing the states. For example, there is a provider, also there's getx, but Google recommends for using BLoC. You don't have to use it just because Google is recommending it. If you find other patterns useful or helpful, then you can use them also. So let's do some coding and understand it better in a project. So I have created a simple project, and which if I run it, this will be the sample project, and this code comes whenever you create a Flutter project. So it doesn't have anything, it just have a button which will increment the counter. We are going to create sort of this app, but we will use the BLoC pattern. Okay, so now we don't need this code. We are going to remove all this. Okay, now we are going to create a stateless class, and I'll name it my counter app. Okay, now in the file structure I'll create a new file and I will name it counter block. Okay, I'll create a class here and I'll name it, sorry, I didn't give it the extension. The extension should be .dart. Okay, class counter block. Initially it will have a variable that will be counter. It will be of type integer. Sorry, it should be late, because we are going to initialize later, and we are going to initialize it in our constructor. I'll give it a default value of 0 here. Okay, so now, as we have know, BLoC is used for separating the UI from the business logic. So this main class is basically our UI class, and the UI, and as according to the pattern, the UI should not be aware of the business logic. The UI will only, for example, when user presses the increment button, a function will be called and the result will arrive. The UI doesn't know what is going on in that function. If we add all the functions in our main class or the view class, then it will be a very tough job to manage them, and from that we are going to mess up things, and then there will be a very spaghetti code. So for better understanding and for structuring the project, we need to create a class. So to avoid this, we use BLoC Pattern so that our business logic and views should be managed separately. Okay, so here I'm going to create a material app. It will be returning material, and the home will be my contact screen. Okay, now we are going to create another class, and I'll name it now my counter screen. Okay, and now just add the terminator here. Now let's quickly create the body. Sorry, scaffold body will have center will have a child of text, and the text will contain a counter. Will also have an app bar will have title requires a text, and I will name it my counter app. Okay, what is the problem here? Okay, let's restart our app. Okay, so now this is our UI. Let's add some styling. Font size will be of 32. That's it. Now let's move to our BLoC class. So this class requires two controllers. One will be for syncing the data, means adding the data, and another will be to get the data. So let's understand it visually. So how does it works? Suppose we have a pipe. So what is the main function of a pipe? The main function of a pipe is to flow the water from one end to another. The one end is called the input and the another end would be called the output. From input there will be a flow of water. Suppose we have a tap here. As soon as the tap opens, the bucket will get the data, and in this case the data is the water, and the data will move in this direction. So as long as the tap is on, the data or the water will be flowing, and the bucket will collect it. So if we talk it in the BLoC style, the input will be called the sink and the output will called the stream. So as soon as there will be data input, the stream will start and the bucket will collect it. Okay, if we let's switch back to our code and create an example of it. Okay, so now we will have two controllers. Okay, so now let's suppose we have two controllers. One will be called the stream controller, this stream controller will have a type of integer because we are incrementing the counter, and the another will be the event controller. I'm just going to copy this and just change it to event controller. Okay, so now what is going to happen is that first we are going to get an event as soon as the user presses the increment button. We forgot to add the button. Let's quickly add the button, floating action button. Sorry, we will have two buttons here, so I'm going to say row with children floating action button. On press, something is going to happen, and the child would be icon of icons dot add. Okay, now we will have a size box to give some width. I'll say 16. After that we will have another floating action button. Something is going to happen on press, and the child will be the icon. Okay, now let's align it in the end. Okay, so now as soon as the user presses the increment button, an event will occur which will tell that to increment the counter, and as soon as the user presses the decrement button, the same thing will be happened. In this case there will be a decrement. Okay, so how will the user interact with the button? So for that we are going to create two things. One would be the event sync and the second will be the event stream. So I'll say stream sync. Stream sync will be taking an enum. So first we are going to create an enum. Let's quickly create an enum class. I'll name it user actions. First will be increment, second will be decrement, because user will have only two things. Either he can increment or decrement. There is nothing else. Okay, so now let's add the type user actions, and it will have event, sorry, what will have the cat here. This will be called event sync, and it will have event controller dot sync. Am I missing something here? Yes, I forgot to get the type here. Okay, the second thing will be string. The string will also have the same type. It will going to get, this time it will be string, and the event controller is going to string. Okay, so what is going to happen here is, whenever user presses this button, this function will be called, sorry, this event sync will be called, and it will tell that user has incremented the counter. So for listening this stream, for listening this action, we have to listen it. We are going to listen it in our constructor. Let's say event stream dot listen. I'll add a switch case here. There will be two cases only. So the first case will be the user actions dot increment. The second case will be user action dot decrement. Let's add a break here. Let's add a break here also. Okay, so whenever user presses increment, we will increment the counter, and whenever user decrements, we will decrement the counter. And after that we are going to say, okay, so first we are going to do this, then we are going to proceed further. We forgot the column here. Okay, let's go back to our main class and quickly create a function, an instance for our counter block, and as soon as the user presses the add button, our counter block will tell the sync to add, and here we are going to define the user action. The action here is the increment. We are going to copy this and do this same in the remove function. Here we are going to replace it with decrement. Okay, so now what will happen is whenever the user presses this button, this function will be called and it will tell the sync to add this function, and then whenever the user presses the decrement button, user will tell the sync to add this. So we are listening this string here, but we are not doing anything with that string. So what do we need here is we should tell the UI that something has happened. So how can we do this is we are going to say, so let's copy this and create this. Now this time this is for the UI. This will be the counter sync this time, and this will become counter string. Okay, so as soon as we are going to receive this string, we are going to add something here. Okay, so how can we do this is we'll say counter sync dot add, we'll say add the counter here. Now what we are doing here is we are first we are going to tell that event sync that to do some action, and we are telling the actions here, either we are going to tell it to increment or decrement. Secondly, whenever the sync will get the instructions, it is going to be listened here, and according to the events something is going to happen. If it is increment, the counter will be incremented. If it is decrement, then the counter will be decremented, and after that counter sync will get an input of that counter. Now everything is done except the listening part at our view. So let's get back to our view, and here we are going to press the command dot and wrap it with some widget, and that widget will be the stream builder. Stream builder is kind of the future builder. They works almost same. The difference is here we are listens to the string, and here we are going to listen to the counter block dot counter string. Okay, we also need a builder here. The builder will be Let's quickly remove this from here. Remove the child also. There will be a context and a snapshot. Let's quickly format our code. Forward to format it. Okay. Now let's give it the initial data, otherwise it will bring us a null value. Okay. So now we have a stream. The stream will listen to this, and as soon as there is a data, this snapshot will get us some data. So for doing this, we'll say snapshot dot data, and everything is done now. Let's quickly rebuild our app. So now as you can see, the default value is 0, and as soon as the user presses the counter, you can see the counter is incrementing, and as soon as the user decrements it, the counter is decrementing. Let's debug our app and see how things are working. So I'm going to attach a debugger here and here and here and also here. Okay, so now whenever user presses this button, see we have got something here, and it is asking to increment the counter. If we proceed from here, we will go to our events. What is happening in the event is telling that an event of increment has occurred. So we will go in this case, and in this case the counter value will be incremented from 0 to 1, and after that it will come here, and here you can see the counter value is 1 now. And after proceeding from here, we will go to our builder. Here it is listening for the changes in real time. So the snapshot has brought us some value, and in this case the data is 1 now. So as soon as we got the new data, it will be binded with the view, and after that the stream will be closed. Means the whole cycle has been completed now. The same thing will be same when we decrement it. See, now it has occurred in the decrement section, and after that it will go from, in this case it will check for the case. Now the case is decrement, and it will go in this, and it will decrement it. Here the counter is 1, and after decrementing it will become 0. And as you can see here, we have 1 now, but as soon as it will be listened in our builder, the new data will be 0, and after proceeding from here, it will be binded here. So this was the simple project for adding the BLoC in our project. You will have different kind of state, you will have different kind of states which you have to manage in your app. This was a simple approach for doing this. There could be multiple data, multiple fields, and multiple objects which you can. The whole idea will be same, but there will be some kind of changes which you have to do. So in this manner you can reuse your code. The reusability of your code will be increased, your code will become more efficient. And as you can see that this view doesn't know about the what is the increment, what is the counter, what is this value. It is completely unaware of these things. The basic idea of BLoC is to separate the view from the business logic. So we have done the same thing here, is that we have separated the business logic from our view. So that was it. So thank you so much guys, thank you for watching. I hope you have liked the video. If you do, please like my video, and if you have not subscribed yet, please do subscribe to my channel. We'll see you in the next. Till then, take care and do progress.